Good morning, everybody. It's Everyday Eric, dressed up as my favorite Lord of the Rings character, Lady Galadriel. Yeah, I brought the costume to Orlando, Florida here. I tried watching episode 5 last night. It's called Partings. It's the longest episode, and I went right to sleep. So I had to get up this morning and try this all over again. I apologize, the humidity here. It's just terrible for my hair. I forgot to pack my bikini, but let's get into episode 5 of Partings because it features the worst sword fight in television history. All right, and I'm going to move through this as fast as I can because your time is valuable and my time is valuable because I see security walking by and they're giving me the evil eye. Kind of like Slim Shady in this episode. We'll get to that. Kind of like that, yeah, Eminem eye we saw. All right, so things start off with female Frodo teaching Gandalf how to talk. And he says words like peril. And he's like, oh, am I a peril? And snail. And but no, female Frodo says, no, you're not a peril, you're good. And he goes, I'm good. And then female Sam sings a long and terrible song that just rips off Tolkien. It goes something like this. Call to me, land far away. The song is terrible in every way. It's kind of like that. Yeah, it's just so bad. And then we do get to Slim Shady and his crew, and they are at the meteorite crash site where Gandalf landed, and they stare at it. And then they stare at us. All right, and then things go to Bronwyn, and she is at the one tower. We don't get 2 towers like those good movies, you know, we only get 1 tower. You think with like the big budget they have for this show, we would get like 3 towers, but no, it's just 1 tower. Bronwyn is trying to rally the troops, but then that creepy old guy that used to own the Sauron sword, he speaks up and then half the men or all the men follow him out of the tower. So there you go. Isildur tells his dad, he wants to go to Middle-earth and fight, and he says no. Arian wants Kemen to talk to his dad, to have him change his mind, and Kemen says, well, I don't know, maybe I'll try. Halbrand is making a sword, and Lady Galadriel wants him to go to Middle-earth and reclaim his birthright as the king of the Southlands, and he's like, nah, I don't want to do that. And female Frodo, you know, we saw like these foot tracks or these footprints of like these wargs. Well, female Frodo runs into those wargs and they attack, but homeless man Gandalf shows up and smacks the ground like She-Hulk and blows back all the wargs. But he hurts his hand in doing so. I'm also thinking, you know, I didn't know he had all these powers. That would have come in handy a little bit maybe in those Hobbit movies. All right, next up is possibly the worst sword fight ever on television. If you can think of a worse one, please let me know in the comments. So, you know, the armies of Numenor were pretty famous in the books for being badass, but Lady Galadriel, she's going to tell them really how to fight because she knows. All 5 foot of her are going to show these dudes. But these dudes are kind of like sissy dudes. When you look at them, I don't know, they're like sissy boys, and I think there's like a lady in there, I can't tell. So she trains these troops, Elendil's troops, and she's going to say, there are many ways to kill orc, but for you, I'm going to keep it strong and simple. Okay. And she says, you stab, you twist, and you gut. I mean, isn't that sword fighting 101? I don't know. So Galadriel challenges them, like, come on, let's see it, come at me. And Elendil says, and if any of you can best our elf war maiden here, I will promote you to lieutenant. And I gotta tell you, it was a pathetic sword fight. We got these sissy men attacking Galadriel all at once, and Lady Galadriel, she whips out 2 swords, and you know, it's just people throwing swords at each other aimlessly to like some funny music. It was like it was a comedy. I don't know. It felt like Pirates of the Caribbean, how those sword fights aren't very serious. This was just ridiculous. I don't have the words to tell you how ridiculous this was. But eventually, one of the dudes, and his name is Valandil, we've seen him before, sort of nicks her sleeve, and Elendil says, okay, you'll be lieutenant now. It was absolutely pathetic. All right, let's see if I can get through this page of notes I have here. See, look, this is what I do. Look at that. I write this here, and then when it comes out my mouth, it's just glorious, isn't it? So Kemen tells his dad he shouldn't take orders from an elf, and Pharazôn says one day the elves will take orders from us. Muriel tells the king she's going to go to Middle-earth, and the king says, don't go, darkness awaits you. Oh, jeez. And then I don't understand this next scene. I mean, Gandalf, he hurt his arm, fending off the wargs. So he sticks his arm in water, and the water starts to freeze. And then female Frodo touches his arm, and then her arm starts to freeze, and then she gets like thrown back or blown back. I don't understand any of that. So if you guys let me know in the comments what was going on there, I'd appreciate it. Durin the Fourth has dinner in Lindon with Gil-galad, Doogie Howser, Elrond, and Celebrimbor. And Durin tells them that the table they're having dinner on is made from a sacred rock, and he is offended. This rock is used for tombstones and things that are sacred. And so I think Gil-galad apologizes and says he'll take care of that or something like that. All right, and then Elrond is going to meet with Gil-galad, and Elrond is made to recount this legend here, basically for us, to tell us what Mithril is, or Mithril. So apparently, way back in the day, there was an elf and a Balrog that fought over this tree. And this tree had cimmerals in it. And lightning hit this tree as the two were fighting, coincidentally. And sort of the lightning hitting the tree with the cimmerals sort of like the energy carried down deep into the rock, and Mithril was formed down there from the cimmerals. So, yeah, there you go. And Gil-galad asked Elrond, so did the dwarves find this Mithril? And Elrond says, I'm not going to tell you. I'm going to keep my promise. I'm not saying anything. Which, doesn't that basically mean, yeah, they found it? All right, next up we see Isildur approaching his friend Valandil because he is now a lieutenant. And Isildur's like, you're a lieutenant now. You could take me with you to Middle-earth. I'll even let you hit me twice. And so Valandil hits him twice and says, I'm still not taking you to Middle-earth. And then the other friend says, the sea is always right. Remember, the sea is always right. Yes, it is. All right, so then we see Kemen sneaking aboard a ship and with a bucket. Did he have a bucket? I don't know. He had a lantern. That's what he had. And then he made some oil leak inside the ship, and he's gonna drop the lantern. But he discovers that Isildur was stowing away on the ship, and they fight, and they still drop the lantern, and then one of the ships blows up, or maybe it's two of the ships. I was losing count. They're left with 3 ships in the end, and that's really what's most important here. All right, and after they see the explosion, Pharazôn and Galadriel and Muriel, looking all unpleasant, the 2 Karens, they debate delaying their trip to Middle-earth. And then we cut to Celebrimbor, who confesses to Elrond that he knew about the Mithril all along, but he was sworn to secrecy from Gil-galad. And then we have Galadriel trying to convince Halbrand to come come with her to Middle-earth. And he's like, no, again, for the 3rd time in this episode. And she says, sometimes to find the light, we must first touch the darkness. I mean, come on. This cliche dialogue, it just never ends. It's so bad. I don't know. But Halbrand, or is he Sauron, he gets Lady Galadriel to confess that Sauron's forces killed her brother. And she was banished by the other elves because maybe she was too much like the dark side. All right, next we see the men that left the One Tower are with Adar, or is it Adar? I don't know. And the creepy old guy that used to own the Sauron sword is pledging himself to Adar. He first says, are you Sauron? And then Adar knocks him down as if he was mad that he thought he was Sauron. Anyway, he wants to pledge himself to whoever you are, he says. And so Adar gives him a knife, and we think he's making him kill Rowan, but we don't see it, so we don't know what's going on there. And then we meet Don Lemonloss and Theo, and Don Lemonloss is teaching Theo how to use a bow. And Theo shows him the sword, the Sauron sword hilt. And Don Lemonloss recognizes it as a key. A key to what? We don't know, but it's a key to something, and the enemy wants it. So we must keep it secret and keep it safe. So basically, they're just ripping off the Lord of the Rings, and this is going to be the new One Ring, this mysterious sword hilt. And next, we catch up with Durin and Elrond watching these elves carry the tabletop back to Khazad-dûm, and Durin is laughing, and Elrond catches him, and basically Durin confesses that it's not a sacred stone, it's just a beautiful tabletop, and well, Disa, his wife for a long time, has wanted a new table, so he basically tricked everybody to bring this lovely table of rock back to Khazad-dûm. So I do think that's kind of clever and funny, but it does make Gil-galad look like an idiot. So I don't know. And Elrond tells Durin that, listen, this mithril, apparently he was sent to Khazad-dûm. He didn't know, but he was sent by Gil-galad to search out for this mithril, and the elves need the mithril to survive. If they don't have it by spring, they won't survive. And Durin's like, well, you mean the elven race, the future of the whole elven race is in my hands? And he's like, yes. And he's like, okay, well, all right, I agree. I'll let you have the mithril, but we'll have to talk to my dad. And this horribly long episode finally sort of ends with Halbrand deciding to join Miriel and the men of Numenor and women heading to Middle-earth. So we're all on a boat, and the music gets all dramatic and like something important's happening. I mean, what is this? We're 5 hours in, and it feels like by the music, like, oh, something's finally happening here. We're finally starting this journey after 5 hours. Holy shit. I don't know. We're all on a boat, and we have a Isildur and a Elendil, and their armor looks ridiculous. Their helmets don't fit their head. It's pretty funny. And then, in slow motion, comes Lady Galadriel walking aboard the ship in her beautiful non-booby armor, and just looking so important and so righteous. And she joins our Aragorn, Halbrand, who's not Sauron, and he smiles at her. And again, the music builds, and we see 3 ships sail out to Middle-earth. Oh, finally, I don't know, will something happen in episode 6? So this was a very painful show to watch and a very painful review to do. I appreciate you watching. For those of you who have watched it, what do you think? You're allowed to like it. You're allowed to like it. I always have fun with these things. And if you haven't watched it, I appreciate you stopping by for my recap. And hopefully I got a lot of information to you as quickly as possible. All right, I'll be heading home soon. And yeah, maybe I'll talk about House of the Dragon Monday morning. I appreciate all your support. Go check out my Andor review. We had a guest on the show. We had Han Zoro covering Andor, so go check that out. I'll let you go. Everybody have a great day, a great week. I will see you soon, and as always, I will see you on the new. And remember, the sea is always right.